I was drawn to the training program because I knew that it would bring more clarity. And really what I'm seeking more so is clarity in myself.
The actual physical practice really helped to teach me to center myself in my body, and then from there I was able to really appreciate and love my body for the first time.
The stuff that I learned just from going to class, like about myself or the little things that the teachers will say to me, I really can apply that.
The Module 1 of the teacher training program is perfect for anybody who doesn't necessarily want to teach, but they do want to deepen their experience of the yoga practice.
The teacher training at Rising Lotus is broken up into 2 modules. The first one is all about learning all the philosophy and breaking down each pose, often with, a few different teachers, guest teachers, or teachers from the studio come in.
You're going to stay on the ball of the foot that's on the mat, and then you're going to take the shoulders and bring them right over the wrists. Heart forward, and try jumping up the top heel to the wall.
The 24 vertebrae are in the neck. There's 7.
We also had Russ Pfeiffer come in. He does anatomy. So he came in for a whole weekend and we learned all about the skeleton and the muscles and the tendons, which was very informative and very cool to see the body in that way.
If one muscle is too short, it can start to knock bones together and create less space. So that's why, when we look at yoga, it's such a beautiful practice of creating that equilibrium within all the muscles.
The first piece is about deepening your practice, your awareness of what yoga is, the principles of a yoga, physical alignment, obviously getting to know how each of these postures start to break down. And so the teacher training program for the first module is really about how are we suffering? How do we relieve suffering? We see that in the physical yoga practice. I teach them to come to a point in their practice where they're up against that edge. You have to watch the suffering. How are you creating suffering? We do that with the philosophy, with all of it. And it's a beautiful experience, whether you're going to be a teacher or not. It's a transformative experience.
What are we doing when we breathe? Consciously, because you're breathing all the time. That's what we're saying. I love how simple this is if it just settles in. Either you're awake or you're not. Either it's an unconscious process or it's a conscious process. That's what discernment is, right? It's a movement toward union with. Claire brings such an open, clear way of teaching from her heart, but with such clarity. She helps these guys really hold a space. Claire really holds them right up against the edge of their fire, which is part of yoga, and lets them blossom in such a beautiful way.
The thigh and the hip have to do a lot of work in there to move the hip. You feel that? Yeah, with the hip, with the leg, right? It's not the hip that moves, it's the leg. I want the skin on the brow to actually be pulled down towards the nose and not up towards the hairline. I'm going to straighten the arms. It'll allow us just to stay here. Use your navel. Use Uddiyana Bandha, Mula Bandha to come up to down dog. See if you can initiate the movement from there. Initiate that movement. And the philosophy is presented here because of Daniel in a much different way than I've experienced before.
He would go through everything about the philosophy of yoga, and we would talk about yamas and niyamas, which are codes of living. And as we would go through learning about these, everyone always had aha moments like, wow, I'm doing this, or I'm holding on to this, I'm grasping, and I'm realizing that if I just let it go, I could really see what was supposed to happen for me.
Daniel doesn't purport to have the answers, and what he does is hold the space for the students to uncover the answers for themselves.
When you're in the yoga experience of your body, what does it mean? I'm awake. I'm discerning. Okay, so if you're asleep, unconscious process in the body, we tend to drop into more fight or flight, lizard brain. Okay, so what are we doing? Let's engage the feminine aspect, right? Let's bring consciousness first to the breath. Just by bringing consciousness, what are you doing?
And I think we all, I love the poses, but that was a very new part to us that doesn't get really fed into class as much as it's available when you can sit for hours and talk about it. It's a whole new way to kind of transform your life if you use it.
The students walk out and know in their hearts, oh, I can begin to work with these principles.
When I continued on to the second module, it becomes more about, so take all that you just learned and all that work that you did, like to know how it's right in your body, and now figure out how to verbally explain that to someone else.
You start writing scripts for different kinds of things, like ujjayi breathing, we had to do that, and then start getting up and teaching each other.
Even in our 200-hour teacher training program, they mentor with a teacher and get an opportunity for 24 sessions at least to be with assist in the room, start to touch bodies even though they're not teaching.
I really appreciate being able to be in a class with a teacher that's been teaching for a while and hear her language or his or her language and be able to, in a safe way that's guided by somebody else, be able to then physically be with the students and make corrections.
If you want to stay with us for at least a year, sometimes two years, we will continue to help you sort of develop those skills. And I think developing a well-rounded teacher and person.
There's nothing like sitting in the room and seeing one generation, oh, there's two generations of our students who are now teachers, who are in our classes, who are teaching in the community. Fantastic.
People really wanted to share what was happening in their own lives or their own experiences, and it really, the more we all shared with each other, the more it really made it feel like this really safe place that we could all come.
It's very awesome to see people change because of what you're doing and to try and help them get into the pose easier. As I've gone through the program, I've learned that the attachment to the job or the guy or the car or the right apartment really isn't what I was seeking. What I was seeking was this connection, and I didn't have that before. I think that was what, for me, was what I really wanted to learn to connect to in a very deep way, so that I knew no matter what changed in my life, job, men, whatever, that I was always okay, because it's this self-reliance, confidence thing for me that is where my work is.
If there's a pie of yoga, this little tiny slice is physical yoga. So we're actually opening the doorway to understanding and exploration of what a full practice of yoga as a science of the mind is, and what that means to you. Not just standing in the pose, but what is actually this process of self-discovery that was started 5,000 years ago that is still practical now.